everyone, it's Miss Chelsea with the Mount Holly Branch Library, and it is time for another teen book talk. And today's theme is dragons, damsels, and drama. If you are participating with READsquared online for our summer reading, the code for today is capital M, capital H, capital T, number 1, and the number 9. So MHT19. So Mount Holly Teen 19. That's what that stands for. And then you can enter that in for participating by watching this video today. So like I said, today's theme is dragons, damsels, and drama, and I have about 8 books and we're going to get through them pretty quickly. And the first one we have is going to be called Damsel by Elena K. Arnold. This was released in 2018 and the rating got a 3.42 out of 5 on Goodreads. It did receive the Prince Award, and we actually read it for our adult book club, and me and Miss Deborah thoroughly enjoyed it. So I would say after listening to the summary, if you're interested, I would definitely give it a try. So pretty much the rite of passage for a prince to become a king is while they're a prince, they have to go to the Grey Lands and they have to slay a dragon, and then they have to rescue the damsel from the dragon, and then they bring the damsel back to their kingdom and marry them. And that's what Prince Emery has to do. So Prince Emery rescues his damsel, who is Amma, and when Amma wakes up in his arms, she has no memory of who she is, where she came from, how she got to be with the dragon, her life before the dragon, or anything like that. So Emery takes her back to the kingdom, and she starts her training to be a princess, to be a queen. However, after about the first night, she realized things aren't really what they seem to be, and she has a more difficult time with this training process. And she learns that there's more to the legends of dragons and damsels than anyone else knows, and that the greatest threats to her life may not be behind her, but still in front of her. So again, I really enjoyed the book. It did have a lot of mixed reviews, so I would say read the book first and then maybe start looking through some of the reviews online and see what you think. Next we have, out of all of these, probably one of my personal favorites. I'm very excited to read it. It's called Cinderella is Dead by Callan Barron. It was released in 2020. It has a rating of 3.86 out of 5 on Goodreads. So this is Cinderella themed, obviously. So it was about 200 years after Cinderella found her prince, and the original fairy tale is now over. And present day teen girls are required to go to a ball where they will meet the man that they're supposed to marry. And the men of the kingdom will go to the ball and they'll select their wives out of these teen girls. However, if a girl is not chosen, they're never seen or heard from again. So this book is about 16-year-old Sophia, who would much rather marry her childhood best friend, Aaron, than go to this ball and parade herself in front of the men of the kingdom. So at the ball, she decides to escape and she flees, and she finds herself in Cinderella's old mausoleum. And there she meets Constance, who is one of the last known descendants of the actual Cinderella. And she meets her stepsisters, and together they sort of band together and they vow to bring down the king and all of the rules once and for all. And in the process, they learn a lot more about Cinderella's story than they actually ever knew. So this is a fresh take on one of the classic stories, and it does make readers sort of start to question the tales that they've been told and who to root for and how to break down the constructs of the world. So again, after reading that summary, I'm very excited to actually read the book. All right, next we have House of Dragons by Jessica Clues. This was released this year in 2020. It has a rating of 3.96 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it is book 1 of the series. So there are 5 royal houses in the kingdom, and one person from each house has to compete in what is known as the trial to take the dragon throne. So normally it's the oldest one of each of the houses will compete because they've been preparing for it on the off chance that they'll be able to. However, this year is different. This year there's 5 outcasts that will be required to compete. And of the 5, there is a liar, a soldier, a servant, a thief, and a murderer. And they all sort of have to decide on whether or not they want to compete against each other or maybe even band together. So a lot of mystery with that one, but the rating's pretty good. All right, next is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. It was released this year in 2020 and has a rating of 4.0 out of 5 on Goodreads. So this is about Renata, who was an only child, and she was kidnapped by the King's Justice and she was brought to the palace. She does have special abilities. She can steal memories of enemies, and because of this, the king was able to sort of use her as his tool. And by doing that, it resulted in the deaths of these thousands of her own people. Now, fast forward, she is a rebel spy working against the crown. She was able to escape the palace. However, the group that she's with, which is called the Whispers, they're all the rebel spies, they don't trust her, and some of them almost hate her just because of her ability was able to help the king. And so they don't really want her with them. So while she's with the Whisper, she does meet Des, who is the commander of her unit, and he's the only one that can sort of make her time with them bearable because no one else really likes her that much within the Whispers. But he was taken captive by one of the king's men, and in order for Renata to save him, she's going to have to sort of sneak back into the palace and try to convince them that she's still loyal and she wants to be there. So, pretty much, can she convince her former captives that she has remained loyal this whole time, even though she really wants revenge? And then once she returns there, she starts unlocking these childhood memories that's been locked away for so long. And as she grows more embedded with the people of the court, she starts uncovering a lot of secrets about her past. So, this was a pretty anticipated book, and the reviews on it were very good, so definitely something to check out. Next, we have Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. It was released in 2019 and has a rating of 4.09 out of 5 on Goodreads, and it is also the first book in this series. So this book circles around Annie and Lee, and they were children when the revolution took over the world, and the result of the revolution gave everyone in their area, even the lowborn, which is what they call like the less than families, a chance to test into the governor, chance to be a dragon rider. And so fast forward, they've grown up a little bit. They're now rising stars within the new regime. They do have very different backgrounds though. So with their different backgrounds, Annie's lowborn family was executed by Dragonfire, and Lee's family was more aristocratic, but they were all murdered by revolutionaries. So they both did grow up in an orphanage together, which is how they forged their friendship. And they did like 7 years of training, and they were both so well trained that they ended up becoming rivals for the top position to be a dragon rider. However, everything changes when survivors from the old regime start surfacing and they want to reclaim the city. Annie and Lee both now have a decision to make. Annie needs to decide whether or not she needs to protect Lee or step up to be champion, and Lee has to decide on whether to choose to harm the only family that he has left or betray everything that he's come to believe in. So Rosaria really gives you a gripping adventure with this book that calls into question, what matters the most, the family you were born into or the one that you chose. Next, we have Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly. This came out in 2019 and has a rating of 4.10 out of 5 on Goodreads. So this is about Isabel, who is one of the stepsisters of Cinderella. And you would think Isabel would be blissfully happy. She's about to win the handsome prince. However, she's not the beautiful girl who lost the glass slipper and captured the prince's heart. We all know that was Cinderella. She is actually one of the ugly stepsisters who cut off her toes to fit into Cinderella's shoe. So I don't know if you actually knew this, but the original Grimm stories of Cinderella, the ugly stepsisters cut off their heels and their toes to try to fit into the glass slipper. So I like that this story sort of stuck with that very dark Brothers Grimm theme to it. When the prince discovers her deception, she is turned away in shame, and it's no more than she deserves because she was just a plain girl in a world that values beauty. She tried to fit in, she tried to live up to her mother's expectations, she tried to be like her stepsister, to be sweet and to be pretty, and one by one she started cutting pieces away of herself to survive a world that doesn't appreciate a girl like her. And that sort of turned her sort of mean and jealous and hollow. However, she gets a chance to alter her destiny and prove what ugly stepsisters have always known, and that It takes more than a heartache to break a girl. So again, another sort of take on the classic Cinderella story. Next we have So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. It came out in 2020 and has a rating of 4.21 out of 5 on Goodreads. So Elizabeth Lim has a long-standing series called a Twisted Tale series, where she takes a lot of the classic tales and sort of puts a spin on them. And this is one of them. This is the 9th in her installment. And again, this is another Cinderella story, but it is one of the new ones, so it came out this year. So in this case is, what if Cinderella actually never tried on the glass slipper? So unable to prove that she's the missing princess and unable to bear life under Lady Tremaine, who was her stepmother, Cinderella starts to work at the palace as a seamstress. However, when she finds herself witness to a grand conspiracy to take the king and the prince out of power and to overthrow the kingdom, she's faced with questions of love and loyalty to the kingdom. So she needs to try to find a way to stop the villains of the past and the present before it's too late. And last but not least, we have King of Scars by Leah Bardugo. And this is the first book in that series. It came out in 2019 and has a rating of, again, 4.21 out of 5 on Goodreads. This was a very highly anticipated novel for 2019, and after reading the reviews, it left a lot of the readers very shocked with the twist ending. So this is about Nikolai, who has always had a gift for the impossible, and he was in his country's civil war, but nobody really knows what he endured there, and he tries to keep it that way. However, enemies are starting to gather at his borders, and he needs to try to find a way to forge new alliances and stop this rising threat. However, every day he has like this dark magic that's growing inside of him and getting stronger, and it's threatening to destroy everything that he's built so far. So with the help of some friends, he journeys to this place where like the deepest magic can survive, and he tries to vanquish the magic inside of him. And he will risk everything to save his country and himself. However, some secrets aren't really meant to stay buried, and some wounds aren't meant to heal. So again, big twist ending. The ratings on that one are super great. I highly recommend checking that one out. It is also in my to read list. I hope you all enjoyed our teen book talk today, and we will see you next month. Bye.